Hi everyone. Before we start this interaction, I would want to ask a question to everyone. In this room, how many of you interacted with the person who is just sitting next to you? And when I say interaction, I just not mean knowing their name or what they do, but also knowing about why they are doing it. And that is what it creates all the difference. Right? So, an interesting fact is that most of the people that has got the job opportunities, this happens through a referral. But when it comes to referral, it's about knowing the right person at the right time. But is it something like a right time exists? You never know when the other person is hiring, correct? But what you can make sure that when the other person is hiring, your name strikes the person's mind. And that is where you create an everlasting impression. My name is Rajan. I'm a 26-year-old entrepreneur and educator. And today I'm going to talk about networking, that how to be a super networker and how to build a social capital. Before we jump to this framework that can be easily applied by everyone in their day-to-day lives, I would want to talk about my journey a bit. I started my journey by building a hyper-local networking application that connects people offline on the basis of their location. Interesting. So when we started, we were getting a good traction, we were getting a lot of downloads. We became popular in our campus. We thought we are the next Mark Zuckerberg, right? A 20-year-old kid raising funds, going to campus. Your classmates are like, guy, why you are here? You have already raised funds, right? Why are you still in the class? So we are doing good, but then life has its own ways to tell you that not yet. The pandemic happened, and our traction started to decline. And we pivoted to a mentorship platform, which we are now. While we are creating these learning experiences for students, I observed a very important thing. So around 20% of our learners who were able to get better opportunities, all of them were able to create a better rapport with the mentors. They were able to network in a better way. They were able to create an everlasting impression, and that is how they ended up landing on a better opportunity. Coming back to how to create that everlasting impression. And this is also important because this is one thing which will never go out of fashion, which is networking, right? Can networking go out of fashion? It's just the way that you network might change. Earlier you used to network offline, now you used to network on social media platforms. And that is why I felt it's very important to talk about it right now. So if I talk about networking from my personal experience, the first thing that I would suggest everyone to is to make a hero introduction. What if I come and tell you, my name is Rajan Luthra, I am a co-founder of a startup. Or I tell you, my name is Rajan, and I make you learn from the people you want to be like. Which is the better intro? Second one, right? Because that makes you curious to know more about me. So have these small hero introductions for yourself and try pitching these introductions in small events. Maybe the intro that you think that will not work for you might end up working, the best. Second thing, we always feel networking is about taking referrals, taking help, taking contacts. Can you connect me with someone? Can you give me a contact detail? Can you refer me? What I feel that we've been doing it wrong. Networking is about how can I help you? Start with this line, how can I add value to your life? Now a student who is particularly watching this must be thinking, I am a 19, 20-year-old kid. How can I add value to a founder? How can I add value to a working professional? How I can add value to a CEO? Right? Because we're just kids. But you can, by showing appreciation, showing recognition. You can probably give them a feedback about their product from a Gen Z perspective, which they don't have. So every one of you has some ability to add value to the other person's life. It's just that you need to figure it how. So a very interesting story I would want to share with all of you. When we started, we were not able to raise funds. Because again, we were very early, first-time founders. probably 20-year-old, 21-year-old, getting rejections, left, right, and center. Like you're not going out with the friends and working on a startup 24/7 and still getting rejections. So imagine getting more rejections from investors than going on dates. So, and then during that time we were invited for a speaker session. And we thought that should we go for the speaker session and address students, because here we have a lot of things on our plate, we're not able to raise funds. Is it really important? Is it on the priority list? Still we end up going there and interacting with people. Like we thought that it's okay to network anyway, what will happen will happen. So we went to that speaker session, and the HOD of that college liked the interaction so much that he connected us with an incubator who ended up writing up the first check. And hence the problem for fundraising was solved. So the learning is that do not be fixated by any outcome. If you go to any event, don't be fixated that this is what I want. If you meet any person, don't be fixated that this person can help me in this particular way only. When you fixate the outcomes, you're limiting your mind. Be open for multiple possibilities. Now if I tell you one more question, like if I ask one more question from you, let's say the person who is sitting next to you follows the same football team as you follow, or follows the same cricket team as you follow. Would it be easy for you to interact with that person? Or it would be hard? Obviously easy. Once we were in an investor meeting, and very interesting thing happened. So the meeting was supposed to go for 60 minutes, and within 5 minutes we realized that my co-founder and the investor follows the same football team. For 30 minutes they were only talking about football, where I did not know anything about football, so I was keeping shut. But that made me realize that how important is to have interest, develop some hobbies. You might be saying that, okay, I'm probably very studious, I don't like watching football, I don't like watching F1. But just think it in a way that when you know about these things, you're able to network better with people, because you have something to talk. Even in a professional setup, you can talk about hobbies, you can talk about interest. We are a human being, like how much we say that our personal and professional life is very separated, but people like talking about their interest, what they like, what is their passion. And if you talk about them, about their interest, they will open up. Fourth, like be curious. Whenever you're talking to people, be curious. How many times it happens that people meet me in event and I'm very tired? I can just talk to them with a very, dull face and just for the sake of talking, but I always remain curious. I just show that I'm interested in knowing more about them. Because when you're curious, while we are talking to people, they talk more and everyone likes to be heard, right? And you get more information about them and you're able to understand them better. So be curious while we are talking to people. Always try to establish a possibility of future connect. You meet a lot of people, but then what happens? I collect a lot of visiting cards, then what happens? We are not meeting them next. So would you want to have a collection of visiting cards? Or would you want to establish a follow-up that, okay, I want to meet this person next at a particular date, at a particular time? So make this habit whenever you're meeting a new person, establish a possibility of a future connect. It can be non-transactional. It can be just, hey, let's just catch up for a coffee. I'm traveling to your city. Would you mind just, catching up, let's say, for an hour? So it can be non-transactional follow-ups. We always keep in mind that, okay, I will only speak to that person if I have some work. And believe me, when you do so, the other person will think that only he comes back when he has something to ask. And no one likes to talk to those individuals, right? So when you talk about networking in general, there are a lot of work that has been done in this particular field also, which is a very interesting theory by an American sociologist, Mark Granovetter. So he did a survey with the people who got the job through a referral, and he did a study. And as per the study, he realized that 82% of the people who got a referral was through a contact that they meet occasionally. They got a referral from a contact that they don't meet regularly, but occasionally, like maybe in family events or alumni meetups. But if you think if you think about it, generally the better opportunities or the unique opportunities comes from the people whom we don't meet in our daily life. who are outside our inner circle, and they refer to as weak ties or loose connections. Imagine there's an internship that maybe is, you come across. So all of the people, or all of the students in your class would be knowing about it. Correct? So in case your classmate knows about something, you might be already knowing about it. So when you're networking and you're thinking that, okay, I know 100 people, but they're in your classroom, so they will not bring something new to the table. So have a habit of making weak ties. I mean, be in touch with people who are your outside your inner circle and people who are the part of your inner circle. So make a balance. Now a question will come that how many people I can talk to? You are saying about talking to a lot of people, right? I might be having some limitations. I can't talk to everyone. And again, there was some study that was done in 1990 by a British anthropologist, Robin Dunbar. And he talked about, he found a correlation between a human mind and the number of meaningful interactions a mind can have. So his number was around 150, that at one point of time a person can only have interactions with 150 people. Interesting. We have more than 150 followers. But this happened in 1990. Now you can obviously have more meaningful connections with more people since we are living in a tech world. Correct? But the crux is that you can not talk to everyone. So imagine, compare your mind with a memory card. Would you want to have 1,000 photos with poor quality? Or would you want to have 150 photos with better pixels, which you can post on your social media? Similarly, connections works. Would you want to just recognize 1,500 people, or would you want to have meaningful connections with 150 people? The choice is yours. Now, how do you nurture this relationship? I do a very simple activity. I maintain an Excel sheet. And I document the people that I'm meeting on a day-to-day life. When I get a visiting card, I put it on my Excel sheet, and I put the priorities. I put the context. If I'm meeting 5 people, let's say after the talk, I'll put that on my Excel sheet and I put the context. And I also put a follow-up that when I have to speak to them the next time. And that is how, let's say if I'm traveling a city, I'll just put a filter and I'll find people I know in that city and I'll just go and say them. I'll extend my trip for 2 days and I'll say hi to everyone, if I know that they're an important part of my network. So these are the few things which I feel that everyone can, apply in their day-to-day lives. And now I hope that after you, exit this room, you become a better networker and you're able to build a social capital for you. Thank you.